So let me kind of share with you where we've been so far. Shh. Very good, thank you. By the way, give yourselves a big round of applause, getting all those chairs back together. Awesome job. All right, let me kind of share with you where we're headed. I'm going to finish sharing these laws, and then Gerald and I are actually going to do something really fun with you right before we head to dinner. And then I just want you to know that tonight we have a very, very fun process. It's our famous glass walk. Anyone excited about that? All right, it's going to be a lot of fun. Some of you are like, wait, how many of you are like, what the heck does that mean? And what is it? I was not prepared. I didn't sign that waiver. It's nothing. We're just going to have you walk on broken glass. It's cool, okay? All right. Oh, my goodness. So we're going to have some fun. So here's what we've talked about so far. Law of intuition. The law of what? Intuition. Law of intuition says that we have access to all the answers. Yes? All right. How many of you have already experienced this at this event? How cool is it that you can ask and get immediate response? Is that neat? Yeah. Talk about living life at a much faster pace. And we also talked about this law of alignment, which basically says do breakthrough to create separation from and purge all of the thoughts that aren't serving you. What I want to talk about right now is we're going to jump right into the law of purpose. And remember that you have these definitions in your book. But this is what this one says. We all have our own unique what? Purpose. Our desires and actions, if they're in alignment with this purpose, then we are far more powerful in our ability to manifest. So for example, let's say that someone was trying to satiate their ego and they wanted to have something for the sake of keeping up with the Joneses. Do you think it's anyone's purpose in life to try and beat out their competition on how cool of stuff they have? Nope. And so purpose says that we have our highest potential that we can step into. And our highest self embodies that. I can tell you right now that my purpose on this planet is to teach these enlightened principles. It's to help people learn how to manifest. It's to teach people that we're here as creators to produce the life that we want. We're co-creating this with God, and we can't just sit around waiting for him to make it happen. That's not how this works. There's a way for us to show up, okay? Who are you? What's your purpose? And do you know what will happen to your income when you start living it? How many of you have a job that you're not really liking all that much? So be honest, just take a moment of authenticity. Yeah. MSNBC says 86% of us in America have a job we don't like. And there's, I believe, a huge correlation between our earning potential and doing things that we like. Because when we're stuck doing something we don't like for money, there's other names for that. Just think about it. I'm doing things for money that are untrue to me that I don't like. And I'm selling myself. I won't use the words, and don't let your mind run too wild with that. So our sacred self embodies this highest bit. And bottom line is, if we can get you to express your purpose in alignment with what your natural gifts are, you're going to see an explosion of your results. And you're also going to be a lot happier. Question is, are you doing what you were put on this planet to do? And I want to share a couple of things that I think will help you with that. This is first clue. If you, anyone here ever gotten a copy of or read my book, The Conscious Creator? Yes. Second book that I wrote, and in it introduces this idea, Sat Chidananda. It is an ancient Sanskrit word. What does it mean? It can be translated as follow your bliss. Follow your what? Bliss. Yeah. What would happen if we lived in a world where people did that? How cool would it be? Do you think we would have happier people? Yeah. Do you think we would overall have greater prosperity? Yeah. Do you think more people would be served? Yeah, I think way more value would get created if that were the case. So with the law of purpose, ask yourself, are you living it? Do you know what it is? Are you tapped into it? What percentage of your day actually gets to be in your purpose? Is there anyone here that feels that they're deeply incongruent, like, well, there's this thing and it feels much closer to my purpose, but I actually don't do that thing almost at all. You create that level of a lacking integrity, and it's going to show up in your life. It's going to show up in your happiness. It's going to show up in your results. So this law says, find out what that purpose is and live it. Now, I want to share this little clue with you. There's a lot of people that think that their purpose is written somewhere on a tablet of stone, and if they can just find it, they can start living it. Any of you ever feel that way? Friends, the only amount of your purpose that you get to know today is only what's been revealed how far? Until when? Today. Just today. And sometimes purpose just means breadcrumbs, one step at a time. And so there's a way for every one of us to honor our purpose as it is. In fact, everyone close your eyes. Deep breath in. Just going to ask this question. What is my purpose? Ask yourself. And the next question, what can you do to live it this week? What would it look like? What action could you take? What would you do that would help you embody an expression of your purpose insofar as you understand it? Anyone willing to raise their hand and share what they got? White microphone. Ben. All right, we're not going to use the white one. Our microphones have personalities too. It says, I'm off right now. The white one is a visionary, absolutely. Oh, good. Do we have the Red Warrior mic? It's almost always on. The divergent mic. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Give us your name.
Mark Marino.
Hey, Mark.
Thank you. Since we just studied personality, can you hear me? Okay. Personality types, and I recognized my dominant personality types. I thought, my gosh, what came to me was combine my strength with my purpose.
Wow. Beautiful. Guys, give it up for Mark. Beautiful. Yeah. Who else got something? Give us your name. Stand up.
Hi, my name's Kev.
Hey, Kev.
Hi. Well, basically, the first question you asked, same purpose in life that I always live by is try to render clear that which is blindly obvious. Beautiful. And how to do that there is not be afraid of picking out your voice, implementing all the various personalities that was displayed earlier today, learning how to adapt to it, not being afraid to try new things, even when I was RB spontaneous. Thanks for bringing me here. And take the mic up whenever you can and actually speak out. Hopefully you can motivate someone else to do the same thing.
Awesome, guys. Give it up for Kev. He's living it. He just did it. Here, we're going to get one more right over here.
Tom?
Hey, Tom.
I think I picked up about, especially about the personalities. I've done something similar to this compared to the animal kingdom, and I knew what I was in the animal kingdom. And but I think what it does is it helped me learn about my wife a little bit better. We've only been married not quite 9 years yet, and I think it's important to know that each one of you probably have different personalities and how you can improve your relationship by understanding each other's personalities and why you do what you do.
Yeah, beautiful. Guys, give it up for Tom. So if a visionary is a monkey and a warrior is a lion, what would happen if a lion tried to tell the monkey to be a lion? It wouldn't work out very well. All right. Okay, now we're going to hit the law of choice and accountability. The law of what? Choice and accountability. Okay, this is key to understanding the entire message of Limitless. We are solely responsible for the results in our lives. Soak that in. Who here has ever played the blame game? I've got a problem and it's somebody else's fault. Come on, be honest. Every hand should be up on this. Let's really a moment of honesty, right? Have you ever blamed someone for something that happened to you? That's human. And regardless of the outside influences, the people, the circumstances, we can always choose what we think and what we do. We're accountable for the results that we create because of it. And while we can't always control what happens to us, by the way, why can't we always control what happens to us? Because everyone else has this other thing called what? Agency. And as long as they have it, they can do stuff to you, yes? And yet, what cannot be taken from you? Yeah, how you respond to it. Let me demonstrate this real quick. What's your name? Tony. Tony, big strong man. Come up here on stage. Come stand right here. Guys, give it up for Tony. Smack me. There's some interesting things going through his head right now.
A little bigger than me.
All right. All right. So Tony smacks me. Can I control this man? What happens if I try to control people? Does it work out well? It's going to produce frustration, at least for who? At least for me. How many of you have ever tried to control a spouse or a child? All right. Well, Tony's sitting here front row VIP, and I don't really know Tony very well yet, but Tony just smacked me. And I want to share with you what's going on. Right now in this part of my face, I'm feeling a sensation called pain. There's these nerves that are firing, and they're communicating to me that I've experienced pain. Now, by the way, is pain something we get to experience in life? Yes. Is pain bad? No. It's just a part of what? Life. Yeah. However, now is where I've got an opportunity. There's a space between stimulus and response. Between stimulus and what? Response. Where I'm at choice with what I want to do with this information. What are my options right now? Help me out. I could smack them back, right? What else? I could walk away. What else?
You could say you deserved it.
You could say you deserved it. I could chew them out. I could cry. So I got all sorts of options, right? Friends, if I'm at choice and I experience pain, and that's a part of life, that's one thing. But if I interpret the pain in a way that produces misery for me, we call that suffering. Suffering is optional. Pain is required. Suffering is optional. So here's what I could do right now. And I'm not saying I'm always this saintly, but I could look at him. Right? I could give him a hug. Whose choice would it be? He's living his choices, and I'm living mine. Too often, though, we allow ourselves to become the animal, and we become reactors instead of creators like Gerald talked about earlier. But if we get conscious, we can pause and start realizing, wait a second here. Just because Tom came into my life and pain got introduced, it doesn't mean that I need to pain him back, cry, feel rejected. In fact, who's completely in charge of this reaction? You are. I'm completely in control. You're completely in control. Everyone give Tom a huge round of applause. Thank you.
My name's Tony.
Tony. Yeah. Give it up for Tony. That was Tom. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate that. So let me share with you one of my great inspirations in life. If you've ever read a book, Man's Search for Meaning, it was written by Viktor Frankl, who is a concentration camp survivor. And he was a psychotherapist before he went into the camp. So his experience was a little unique because he had a different perspective. For him, he was really collecting information and ascertaining people's reactions and human emotions. And for him, it was almost a scientific study in his own version of hell. And for me, one of the reasons why this is so touching is because My father, before he came to Germany in the Second World War, he lost 2 fathers. And they were never recovered. They never knew what happened to them. But in that time, when the soldiers invaded his country, he was with his little sister and his mom, and they were caught by soldiers, and his mother was shot twice in the neck. And because it was winter, she actually miraculously survived. They say the snow, what she claims is that the snow had clotted and stopped her bleeding. She survived this crime. But then she was hauled off to a concentration camp, which along the way she escaped, recovered my father and his sister, and they survived the winter pulling rotten potatoes out of the ground. My grandmother had been raped and had a baby, and then in that winter lost the baby. When my father came to America, it was because he was looking for a new start. It's because he was looking for an American dream. It's because he was looking for a land of hope. I connect with Viktor Frankl in some small way as I try to appreciate part of my heritage. And Viktor Frankl, amidst witnessing all of these atrocities, said this: everything can be taken, except one thing, the last of all human rights, which is one's ability to choose in any circumstance one's own way. That can't be taken. Your interpretation of a circumstance cannot be robbed from you. That is yours. And friends, that represents almost all the freedom in the world. I want to demonstrate this for you. I'm going to skip that one. Just for a moment, close your eyes and imagine with me that we are on a private jet to Hawaii. We're celebrating. It's been a year since Limitless, and our lives have massively transformed. In fact, as you close your eyes, as you're sitting on the plane getting ready for takeoff, we're all sitting first class. It's a very cool big plane. And as we're sitting there first class, imagine yourself to envision all the new wealth that's come into your life. And by the way, how would you feel if all that wealth were coming into your life? You had doubled or tripled your income, and you had all this new money coming in, and there's this excitement about the results that you're producing, and your relationships have never been better. They've never been more whole. You've never been filled with more love and understanding and compassion. And you've been able to take your body and take it to its next level to improve it. So right now, as you're sitting first class on this plane, how are you feeling? You're feeling really amazing, aren't you? So allow yourself to feel that right now. Plane takes off. And this is a pretty relaxed plane because there's no turbulence, no seatbelts. We're up and moving about the cabin. We're talking with each other, catching up on each other's lives, and reminiscing about the incredible, amazing year that this has been. And it is really a wonderful, joyful feeling. You feel fulfilled. You feel wonderful. And then all of a sudden, crash! There's an explosion. The engines have gone out, and the plane is broken in half, and none of us wearing seatbelts are flying right out of the fuselage, and we are falling to death. We're falling to earth. And just imagine this for a moment, that we are over a landmass, and you are falling 20,000 feet. And I have a question for you. Are you still at choice, or did we finally prove that some of this doesn't always work? What choices do you have? Just imagine for a moment if you have any. Because many might say that you have no choice and you're going to die. But there are more than a dozen individuals in history who have fallen from more than 10,000 feet and discovered in their fall that they were able to maneuver their body against the friction of the air and aim for something green that looked like foliage, fell to the earth, and lived. Open your eyes. even in what would appear to be the most impossible circumstance. Do you have choice? Is there really any circumstance that you want to claim is bigger than you? Write this down. I'm bigger than any circumstance. Write this down. I'm greater than all circumstances that present themselves in my life. Because if you believe this, then it doesn't matter how big or scary or nasty the circumstance, the person, the event may be. You always have power over it. I can invite all of you right now to stand up. Come stand up with me. Do you really want any circumstance in life to ever be bigger than you? No. Do you want to believe that there's a bully big enough that can overpower you? No. Do you want to believe in a relationship where it's toxic enough and then I lost my choice and they did this to me and now as a result I'm unhappy? Do you really want those people in your life? No, you don't. And so here's how you overcome it. You make a declaration that there's never going to be a circumstance in your life that is greater than you. Point to yourself, put the other hand in the air and say, I am greater than all circumstances.
I am greater than all circumstances.
I am greater than any circumstance that comes my way.
I am greater than any circumstance that comes my way.
Go ahead and have a seat. Friends, my favorite part of movies, some movies would not be epic unless the main character at some point didn't say this. They say, I didn't have a epic words you never get to speak again. You never, ever, ever get to say, I didn't have a choice, because is it true? No, but that tiny little lie can unravel all of your power and can leave you impotent and powerless. So don't do that. Make the choice and say these words, I'm a conscious creator. I'm in charge of my reactions. I'm in charge of my creations. I wield my freedom of choice to create my world. Yeah, because friends, I think this world we've been given is half finished. Our lives, it's like this beautiful tapestry that we're weaving together. What are the choices that you're going to make that are going to complete it? What does it look like? Is it pretty or beautiful or ugly? Because we make ugly choices sometimes. All right. Now, by the way, up to this point, here's what we've been covering. The what and the why. Now we're going to go into Law of the Harvest. I'm going to go through some of these here. The Law of the Harvest says this. Our life is like a what? We reap what we sow. Every word that we speak. And every thought that we think. And every choice that we make is a seed for creating our future. So all the results, how many? That are in our life are the fruits that grow from our beliefs and the choices we make because of those beliefs. We can alter results by altering our what? Beliefs. By altering our beliefs. Gerald has done a great job yesterday talking about this principle of the roots and the fruits. Every result basically comes down to a belief. And if you don't like the fruit, then you reevaluate the root. You reevaluate the belief that has created that. This is a fun one for me. I like this one. This is one of my, what laws? Favorite laws. It's the law of gestation. Yeah, the law of gestation. I find that most people are missing this information in life. How many of you have ever set a date to achieve a goal and didn't and felt poo-poo about it? Now, come on. I know that I have. Technical terms. We have a lot of technical terms here. And this is what the law of gestation actually says. It says that there's a natural period of time for all acts of creation. How long does it take an oak tree to grow versus a weed? Those seeds are different, aren't they? Yeah. Just like seeds take time to grow before they yield fruit, our dreams and goals must be nurtured and cared for over time. Until they manifest into reality, patience, perseverance allows them to become reality. I kind of feel like in our entitled society today that we've lost track of the law of the harvest. You know, our ancestors that were farmers, you know what they would do in the spring? What would they do? They would plant. And then what would happen in the fall? They'd harvest. I kind of feel like what we do today is like we go outside and we take our seed and we put it in the ground and cover it up and water it and put some sun and we go to bed. We wake up in the morning and we do this at the window. Oh, what? Where's the fruit? The stupid thing's broken. Nothing even came out of the ground yet. Friends, if you don't understand this law, the lack of understanding this can be a perfect dream killer. And we sometimes kill our dreams because we don't understand what I'm about to share here. If you want to make a baby field mouse, I'm not going to explain what mommy and daddy field mouse do, but 19 days later, do you know what happens? There's a baby mouse. Cute little field mice takes how many days? 19 days is what's designated. My wife and I, we keep chickens. I'm amazed that like mama hen keeps like 6 of these eggs in like this rotation, and just about every day pops one of these out. And it's a great source of protein for me and my family. A jaguar, how long does it take to make a jaguar? What if you tried to make it in 30? Like you have a goal. No. We're gonna make this jaguar in 30 days. What would happen? It wouldn't survive. It wouldn't be viable. What would happen to it? It would die. Why are your dreams any different? Now, how many of you mothers have a little compassion for Mama Elephant? on day 644, oh heavens, Larry, we have got to get this thing out of here. Can you imagine? My back is breaking. All right, so I want to share with you what this can look like in goal land. Do I have any goal-oriented people? Awesome, thank you, warriors. Okay, so I want to go through this diagram. I highly recommend you take notes on here because what I want to do right now is I want to impart to you the mindset of a millionaire, the mindset of the successful, how they operate and how they think when it comes to goals. Imagine for a moment that you had a goal and imagine that you achieved it. How would that feel? Not only did you achieve the goal, but to achieve it, you learned some really cool stuff along the way. And as you learned the lessons, you implemented it. And because you learned those lessons, you got the goal. Now, if we had to come up with one term that you would label achieving your goal and learning lessons, what word would you use? Success. Everyone say that. Success. All right, I think we're all on the same page there, right? Question, though, is what happens if I have a goal and I don't get it, but I learned why? How important, by the way, is that knowledge when you didn't get what you wanted, but you learned why? How important is that? Because what happens if you learn all of these lessons? What would it mean if you got them all? It means that you would be able to get your goal how often? All the time that you wanted. So let me ask you, what's more important, achieving the goal or learning the lessons? Learning the lessons is more important. Learning lessons always comes before predictable results. But in our minds, we swap it around like the person looking out the window the next day saying, where's my fruit? The lessons get to come before we master our ability to predictably produce these results. For me, when I set a goal and I do not get the goal, but I learned the lessons, you know how I would also classify that? I do classify it as success. Now, which success is better? They're totally equal. If you can celebrate them the same, then it is inevitable that you will go from learning lessons to getting what you want. How many of you want inevitable success? Everyone point to yourself, say, I want inevitable success. I want inevitable success. Give your neighbor a high five and say, you get to have inevitable success. All right? Now it gets a little tricky. Little tricky. What happens if you have a goal, you get the goal, but you didn't learn anything new? Maybe because nothing new was required to be learned. What would you call that? I'd call that success too. Man, can you see how awesome it is for me to be me? Like, I hope it is just as awesome for you to be like, to be that awesome. Like, aren't you just like all crazy as successful as I am all the time? Because it's like, man, whether I got my goal or I didn't, I'm like crazy successful. This is where the degree of separation occurs. I did not get my goal, and I didn't learn anything. I did not get my goal, and not only did I not learn anything, I even learned the wrong thing, like I'm not good enough, or I'm a failure. Now that's talking about learning the wrong lesson. That's like, now we're really moving backwards. What would you call that? What would you call that? I'm not going to call that one success. Getting in my crap is not success. I call that story. Well, Tony, he came up to me and he hit me. And I didn't like that. And it's because he doesn't like me. It means that I'm not likable. How many of us have these victim stories that we carry around that we leverage as vehicles to sabotage our own success? Friends, we do this. I do this. Like, this is a part of being human, and this is the thing that we want to eradicate from our life. So I want to invite you moving forward to only be successful. Because if you learn enough lessons, then the results become inevitable. Say, if I learn enough results, if I learn enough lessons, the results become inevitable. Yeah, and friends, that's how you make your success inevitable, because you're committed to learning. You know, when people go into the inner circle, we are constantly pushing them to have goals. We're giving them these things called 30-day leaps. We're going to ask all of you here at Limitless, by the way, to have one of those. We're going to train on that later. And as you're doing that, I really don't care if you don't get the thing that you want. What I care about is what? Whether you learn the lesson required. So we have Laura here that is actually, can I pick on you for a second? Where's my microphone? Come over here, Stu. Laura, go ahead. Everyone, what's your name?
I'm Laura.
Hey, Laura. So Laura's new to our Inner Circle family, and Laura's a warrior. She's a warrior. Can you tell she's a warrior? Yeah. How can you tell? She's a cheetah. She's a cheetah. Okay. And, you know, I knew that I was dealing with a warrior before she even came into the program, because hyper goal-oriented. And she got to a place where she's had great success in her life, but she feels like she had hit the ceiling. And so she decided to come and participate in the Inner Circle. And she had set a 1-week financial goal for herself that really was going to stretch her in comparison to what she had done in the past. Do you mind sharing what happened?
Sure. So Chris encouraged us to pick a goal, and I kind of looked at myself, and I'm like, I can do 10,000 pretty easy, I thought. And
pause for a second. If you did $10,000 in a week, how many of that, for how many of you would you be like, whoa, that's totally pushing on the boundaries of possibility. That's freaking cool, right? That's really cool. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so he just said, no, this has got to be like way beyond your reach, something you don't think you could do. So I'm like, okay, 25,000. That'd be cool. And then when I was sitting there, it was like, no, 54,000. 54,000 just kept coming to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like insane. That's crazy.
Oh, good. We arrived at a good goal. We like miracle-sized goals.
And so I did that, and every day I just lived like I got a $54,000 check every day. I was excited about it. And so it was like the 6th day. I wasn't even thinking about it. I got this phone call, and they said, hey, we need you to meet us at the bank. And I'm like, okay. So they're like, we have this other thing to take care of. And when I got there, they said, hey, I don't want to distract you or anything, but, you know, I have this check for you. And I opened it, and it was, well, there's 2 of them, but one was $54,800, and the other one was $500. And it was that moment when it was deposited that I looked at it and went, oh my gosh, this was my unbelievable, unreachable goal that happened. It was super cool.
Guys, give it up for her. So exciting. So amazing. there was many powerful things that she said, but there was one thing she said in particular that I believe is why she got the goal. Did anyone catch something interesting she said in that statement? She lived seeing the check present every day as if it had already happened. Friends, that is a perfect example of learning to live in the fairy tale here until you see expressed where? Here. And if you can make this world even more real than the one that we live in, physically with our eyes, you will have the power to step in your new world much quicker, much faster. All right. Anyone here ever been to Maui? Maui? Everyone on Maui, did you ever do the road to Hana? I want to tell you just a little bit about the road to Hana because it has everything to do with gestation. The road to Hana is maybe one of the most beautiful places on the planet. Has anyone here ever heard about Hana? Anyone here? Oh my gosh, then you need to hear about this. So on the northeastern side of this small island, Hawaiian island, Maui, they've got this 50-mile curvy road, and it curves so much along the embankment that you can really only drive 15, 20 miles an hour. And everyone's driving so slow because they're watching all of this epic scenery. And this was years ago that my wife and I were there, and we were told, you have got to get to Hana. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. And I'm like, are you sure it's worth it? It takes an entire day to get there and back to our side of the island where our hotel is. And we went on faith. Someone said, no. If you're going to Maui, you have to do Hana. So we start this journey, and I'm thinking, okay, we got to get to Hana. But along the way, some crazy stuff happened. We're reading this book, Maui Revealed. And it says, okay, start your mile marker, and we're going to show you when to get out of your car. Okay, drive 1.8 miles, get out, trek a tenth of the mile, and you're going to see this most amazing sacred pool with this waterfall, and none of the tourists know about it, so go there, right? And then we do this, and it was just, oh my gosh, it was like the most beautiful thing. And we get back in our car, and we start driving in our convertible a little further, and it said, stop, rare, like one-of-a-kind black sand beach. It's like the only one in the world. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Drive a little further, red sand beach. Stop. Oh my gosh, the 7 sacred pools. Go play as the water's coming down the mountain. You just get to swim from pool to pool to pool. It's like Lion King epic stuff, and during that love song part with Elton John. and we're enjoying the most like scenic, beautiful journey. But finally, 5.5 hours later, we roll into Hana. Hana, there's nothing here. Like there's a couple of garbage buildings. Like there's no place to even get some food. There's like no restaurant. Why is everyone telling me to get to Hana? It is the journey. Friends, if we were capable of living present and finding all the joy in this moment instead of always looking forward to moments that are going to be better than this one, you'll never get there. The joy that you seek, the happiness, the love that you seek, the validation, the thrills and the excitements, all of that is only ever going to be found when? When? It's like in the Screw Tape Letters of C.S. Lewis, one of the hardest books he ever had to write. When you've got these two devils, a higher level devil and a lower level devil having this conversation through letter, and the higher level devil is trying to educate his nephew devil saying, you have got to be a way better tempter. You are not doing a good job leading your human astray. You allowed your human to get present. Are you crazy? You know you're supposed to keep your human in the past. You get them dwelling on what's broken, what's not working, sadness and depression and pain. Don't you know that? And for heaven's sakes, if you cannot keep them in the past, you got to put them in the future. Nothing has ever happened there. There's no power in the future. But whatever you do not allow your human being to get present, because in the present is power. This journey, friends, this law of gestation, imagine what happens for a moment if you're in the process of having a baby. It takes 9.5 months, right? 40 weeks. What happens if mommy's body takes a break from making a baby for a day or two? Then the baby stops developing. Friends, if you can't live in a world where you're willing to constantly believe in your dreams and live as if they're present, and be at peace with the time it takes to get there, then you may be murdering them. You may be killing your dreams unwittingly, unknowingly, because there's a perfect period of time. And your faith is required. Your actions, your thoughts, your words are required during every part of that process to nourish the baby of your dream. It's gestation process. So someone came up here and said, I want to be financially free. That's a beautiful goal, totally achievable. We've seen so many people do that. We help people do that. Our lunch break, we're going to give you this extended lunch break tomorrow, and we're going to do this 30-minute bonus session. How many of you would like to have 30 minutes bonus on how we teach people to become financially free? Yeah, and when you do, we're going to give you a plan. We're going to give you a plan of action and show you how we do that. But if you say, all right, I'm going to do your plan, and I want to be financially free in 30 days, or else I'm giving up. What might happen? Write this one down. Write this one down. If your pursuit is worthy, then be willing to trade all the earth days necessary to get it. Some of your dreams are worthy of all of your earth years. Can someone tell me what I just said? If your pursuit is worthy, then be willing to trade all the necessary earth years to achieve it. January 15th, 2009, I stood up in front of 200 people and made a declaration that I had a plan to grow a $1 billion company. I had never done that before, but from that time moving forward, I have owned a $1 billion company. And technically, the difference between here and the real world, we're not yet a $1 billion company, we're still gestating. But I can tell you, we've done $500 million worth of business. Is that a step in becoming a $1 billion company? Yes. Yeah, so friends, when you speak something into creation, you get to support it, believe in it, put energy and thoughts and emotion and words to support it, until when? Until you see it. And friends, that's where we're headed as we wrap up sharing these laws with you. Next one is the law of connection. Law of what? All right. How many of you have enjoyed that greatness I see in you exercise? How many of you have been surprised that you have the ability to connect with a stranger and see greatness in them? Isn't that amazing? See, I really don't know Tony. I know him a little better. But I believe that it is possible for me and Tony to share a beautiful experience together, even if I never see him again. That there's a way for us to take this moment and invest in each other in a way, but only if I'm capable of seeing him. A man with fears and dreams and hopes the way I do. A man who's had struggles the way I know that I have. And if I can see my reflection in him and understand that he's a human being like me trying to figure this whole earth journey out, then he's no longer an object. He's no longer a person. He's a person that is in my life in that moment to connect with. And when we see people that way, life changes. I hope I see you more. I'd like to be able to meet people and say, I like who I am when I'm with you. I like being around you. Law of connection. Our highest self recognizes that we are one. There is this oneness to this human family. And yet there's also this ego, this shadow inside of us that likes to create separation. How many of you have ever felt the temptation to create separation and disconnect? Yeah, it's kind of a part of human life. It's part of our education. Our ego creates that separation through comparison, through competition, and yet we don't have the ability to judge others and hurt others without actually judging and hurting who? Everything that comes out of your mouth is an expression of who? Have you ever met someone who's mad at you and spoke hurtful words? Whose words were they? And it was also a projection of whose beliefs. And yet if you don't understand this, you can actually interpret that as if their problem is now whose? No, write this down. The person with the problem is the person with the problem. It's ancient Chinese proverb. The person with the problem is the person with the... It's the person with the problem. Don't get confused. The shadow that we judge or the greatness we see in others is simply a reflection of ourselves. The more we live with unconditional love and acceptance of ourselves, the more unconditional we love others. I've got someone right now that I care about who's in our inner circle. And right now she's currently operating in a belief system that some people are more important than others and that she is on the less important side of the equation. Friends, whether you are president, prophet, or beggar, we're all precious and priceless. We're all same. We're all on this journey trying to figure out who we are and how to wake up and how to serve each other, how to live that purpose. I love this law. And one of the things that I love most about Limitless is that it is my constant reminder to see people like my sister, not a stranger. Someone maybe not that different than me. How many of you are surprised that we share so many limiting beliefs, right? Is that kind of crazy? How many of you have ever felt stupid before? How many of you ever told yourself you're stupid? How many of you ever told yourself you're not good enough or smart enough? Man, it's amazing. It's amazing that we're really in this together. Life was never meant to be a solo journey. Put your head up. For you to achieve any of your goals and dreams, it will be measured by the number of people involved. For you to achieve your goals and dreams, it will be measured by what? Number of people. So big dreams require how many people? Lots. And small dreams require small. How many of you know that you limit the number of people in your life? Put your hands up. Hey, if your hand is up, here's my invitation. Stop. Stop limiting the number of people. You're limiting your blessings. You're limiting your ability to grow, receive fulfillment, your ability to love. You got big goals, you got big dreams. Let people in your life experience them, see them. Okay, we only have a couple more of these left. This one is one of my, it really is one of my favorites though. For real, it's so good. It's the law, it's the law of faith. The law of what? Okay, this is key because how many of you want to actually command the power and call down the power to manifest miracles? Yeah, it's going to be contingent upon whose faith. If everyone believes in you but you don't believe in yourself, are you going to get your miracle? No. Is God capable of believing in you enough for you that you get your miracle if you're not willing to have faith in yourself? So we're part of this equation, aren't we? Here's what the law of faith says. Faith is the foundation for all actions leading to creation. Without faith, we have no power to act. But as conscious creators, we work with complete faith to manifest our desires. And we act on that faith with courage. Without requiring what? Yeah. So I think about this a lot. In the beginning, God created this thing for us called a world. And the way that kind of goes, in layman's terms if I can, is God said, let there be an earth, and after he spoke it, what happened? Oh, so he spoke it and then it happened. And he said, you know what? We should separate the dry land from the water stuff. So let there be water. And then after he spoke it, what happened? Now think about this for a minute. Do you think that before God said, let there be an earth, do you think there was one? No, that doesn't make any sense, right? He speaks it, and then what? And it happens. Friends, most of us create the opposite. We say, I'm only willing to create what I have done. I'm only willing to create what I've seen. Now the problem is if you only create what you've seen, then what does that mean for your future? You can never have anything new. You can never have anything new because you only create from your past. So if you want to create something new, it's going to require you to believe in things that you don't see. It's going to require you to actually put faith and believe in something without having evidence and fact. It may require you to believe in something where, in fact, what you have is counter evidence. I got all these bills. All these bills say I can't. And I got all these financial obligations. How could I ever grow my income? Some might look at that and say, that's my argument for why I actually can't put faith into doing something I've never done before. As our personal belief grows, there is an increase in energy. And as evidence manifests, and you start seeing evidence that says, oh my gosh, this is happening, then our belief grows. And this is what's going to enhance your manifesting power. We heard earlier today from Ben Allred. Do you remember what he said about his goal? His goal is to be a millionaire. It's 5 months into the year. How far is he along his goal? He's 2/3. Is he ahead of the way? He's ahead, but I've had a fun time watching Ben and having some of these conversations about how it's happening and where he gets a little bit mentally stuck. And it's been this journey of learning to believe in things that haven't happened just quite yet. And it is so beautiful. It's one of my favorite parts of creation. I love speaking something into creation that I have no reason to believe could ever be, but it feels right. It's aligned with purpose. And then I get to go into this awesome earth school of, so how's it going to be? I spoke it. Like, what do I get to learn? And what are the lessons to actually see this thing actually spring up? I will share this with you. How many of you notice that we talk a lot about thoughts, words, and deeds? Quite a bit, don't we? And that's because every thought, every word, and every deed is an expression of what? It's an expression of your faith. If I think the thought, I'm stupid, that's an expression of me pouring faith into what? And then watch how cool this is. If I believe I'm stupid, then I will begin perceiving evidence that suggests what? I'm actually creating stupid. I'm like creating stupidity. I could actually make myself read slower, actually understand and comprehend less, because we're that powerful. This is mind-boggling. If you can actually get yourself aligned to have this work like for your good, oh my heavens. It's amazing what possibilities can come into our life. So every thought counts. Every thought adds up, and every thought is heard. Okay. Now we're going to tie it all together with the final law. You guys ready for this? Okay. Years ago, a movie came out called The Secret. You remember that one? And how many of you watched that movie? I hope that the 8 laws we've discussed will take your knowledge of The Secret and actually amplify it and give it power to make it happen more predictably and more dependably. What I'm sharing with you, I believe, is what has been missing with the message of The Secret. The law of attraction. It's very simple. Like attracts like. Why don't I speak negative words? Who am I going to attract into my life? Negative people. Negative people who have the ability to speak negative words. Now, you get a group of people together that just hum on negativity, and what are you going to create? What you don't want. We attract into our lives people, things, situations, and experiences that match our deepest beliefs. This is why I love Belief Breakthrough. I get to diagnose every single result and find out, why am I getting what I'm getting? Why am I getting what I don't want sometimes? How many of you ever find that you're so clear on what you don't want that you're seeing it a lot? I don't want bills, I don't want bills, I don't want bills, and I do not want to walk out to the mailbox today. So we attract what we think about most. Our dominant and persistent thoughts eventually transfer from the mind, from the ethereal to the material. They go from the mind into the physical reality of our world. A couple of quotes that I really appreciate. This one's from Napoleon Hill. Spent 20 years of his life making no money in exchange for interviewing the hundreds of the world's most successful people of his day and age. And after all those interviews, he came out with an incredible book, a series of them, and this was one of the quotes. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and bring itself to believe, it can achieve. What are you putting your faith in? You become what you think about most. And if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And then this is what we leave off from one of the top innovators of our day and age. It's your thinking that makes it so. This is a man who said, I'm not the smartest dude, but I surround myself with the smartest people. And that's how he was able to create this entire automotive industry. Now, from Edison, who's known for the light bulb, yeah? This might shock some of you. This is a Renaissance man. He says, the human brain emits frequencies. This guy was big into electricity. The human brain is doing all this electrical stuff, and it's emitting these frequencies, but if they are focused, they can actually be picked up by other human brains, passed through the ether, and then they can actually affect physical matter. How crazy would that be? I mean, how many of you think God has the ability to affect physical matter? Yeah, he says, let there be a world, and then this world somehow comes about. I'm kind of eager on the other side to learn how that all happened, but there's a science to it. I believe that what we're reading right here encapsulates a little bit of that science. So here's how the universe works. We cannot understand, can you keep track of 7 billion people? Can you keep track of tens of trillions of thoughts of other people? Can you even know what they are? Can you track all of the exchanges, all of the thoughts, and all the words that other people speak? I can't. I can't even comprehend like the tiniest bit of it. However, it is calculated, even if I don't understand it. And I'm going to give you a formula right now that I believe allows us to reverse engineer how the universe works so that we can actually step in with these 9 laws to create the life that we want. And friends, this is the end of this presentation on how the 9 laws. And for some of you joining with us into our more advanced programs, this is the beginning, because we want to teach you how to actually live these laws, to actually change first your universe here so that you can see it changed where? Here. We take these 9 laws of conscious creation, we throw them in the blender, we practice learning how to honor them, how to live them, and then these are the 3 steps of what I call the mechanics, the technical components of manifesting. Step 1, know what you want. Unfortunately, most of us in this room are way more versed with what we don't want. I don't want that degree. I don't want that relationships. I don't want that fight. I don't want this problem. I don't want that lawsuit. I don't. And we spend so much time investing in it that what are we actually doing? We're powering it. It's like, just like putting all this fuel into the engine of what we don't want. So we're so good at creating, but if you don't know what you want, you will inevitably create what you don't want because you cannot stop creating. There is no off switch to your ability to create. So if you know what you want and you know what you want, the end result, keeping it in mind, and then this is the secret, something that Laura said. You regularly experience it in your mind and in the flesh, meaning feeling it emotionally, as if it has already come about, and that it is manifesting. Here's the second step. Once you have your active feeling belief in place. Number 2 is then to move. Do something. Take action. Because every day through the law of intuition, could you get an action step? Is there a way to pick up today's breadcrumb? Yes. Everyone bend over and pick up that breadcrumb. Every day there's a way for you to take action on the thing that you want. So you move, you take action. But you do so feeling how? Feeling as if the goal has already been attained. Taking action. And are you going to get some corrective lessons along the way? Powerfully so. And then here's the third and final step. Have faith that it's happening. Even before you can see it, what is really required for your dream to come about? 4 years ago, I was up at Sundance with my wife. And we had traveled all through Utah. Not being native to Utah, we thought that we should go and explore the place because I was looking for a slice of Washington. Anyone here ever seen the Northwest? How would you describe it? Green rainforest. It is green and luscious. I love hiking my mountains. And when I came to Utah and realized that, oh my goodness, my business is expanding and growing so much, I may never escape this place. So I need to find my slice of Washington here. And so we would go visit the high Uintas, and we would go down to St. George, and we would go travel throughout Utah wondering, is there a place in Utah that can resemble this little slice of heaven, Washington, the Northwest? And after traveling through most of Utah over the last decade, hadn't really found anything, except for the one place that is within 15 minutes of a drive of where I live, 14 minutes and 28 seconds to be exact. And it's Sundance. There are sides of the hills of Sundance where the evergreens grow 100 feet tall, a river runs through it, and it is lush, green, and gorgeous all year round. So my wife and I were up at Sundance 4 years ago, and we made a declaration, which is we have a cabin at Sundance. We found the place where we wanted to select this. We hadn't picked the land out, we just knew the area. And we posted a video online, and some people saw it. And for the last 4 years, I've been living in that cabin, visiting it often and really enjoying it. It's quite marvelous, by the way. I told you I'm a little crazy, but I hope you join me. This fairy tale land is really cool stuff. And so a couple years ago, I found the perfect lot, and I claimed it. I just want to, I have to just show you this because it's so amazing. This lot, so imagine that you get to this really secluded part of Sundance, and you got this river that runs around like this, and you have your own private bridge 50 feet across with this ravine below of water running all year round. And then you've got the mountains right here, and this property right here has a path that leads up to thousands of acres leading all the way up the backside of Tempe. It is like, there's like no neighbors to be seen. It is just, and it's surrounded with these 100-foot tall sentinel evergreen trees all the way around. I mean, it is just, it's Washington. And I saw the land, and I knew that the gestational timing was not right, but I claimed the land anyway, which is unfortunate in the marketplace because no one else could get it under contract. For the last 2 years, it stayed for sale, just waiting for the right timing and purpose. And when we started the Inner Circle and started growing that, it became very obvious that we wanted to create a very special place set apart for the incredible, deep, transformational experiences that we experience. This is like my favorite group of people on the planet that I spend time with. And so I decided a couple of months ago, Gerald and I, we got together and we said, you know what? It's time for the cabin to manifest. And we want to see this thing come into creation. So we took the creation from we know where we want to be to the land we claimed, and it was time to actually set it in motion. And I decided that the best use of the land was to actually bring in a partner that also did transformational work in an ideal world that would have use for it so that we could use it for these special retreats and share it. 2 days later, I get a text from a friend I hadn't talked to in the last 6 years, a friend who had become a multi-millionaire, very successful. And he said, hey, Chris, we're driving out of the canyon thinking of you and Colleen, and we see ourselves up here with you doing lunch. We're looking for a retreat center that we can partner with someone on at Sundance. I kid you not, I will show you the text. Lots under contract, and I brought with me, in fact, I got the newest set of plans for what we're designing for this very special place and maybe for an occasional intimate Limitless. And everything necessary is in creation for this to come about. But I'll tell you this, 4 years ago I didn't know exactly what the cabin looked like. I didn't even know where at Sundance it was going to be. But I'll tell you this, I've been enjoying that cabin. And just about every month for the last several years, I go up there every month and walk the woods. Last couple of years I've just been walking and enjoying the land. And this is manifesting in motion. And I don't care if it takes another decade for the cabin. I'm willing to give that time. Whatever it needs to appropriately gestate in its perfect time and place for the purpose, through you the purpose is manifested. And now it's time to use those resources and architect them and put them in place to create another beautiful something on this planet. Friends, I want to tell you this. Every one of us, the divine is inside of us. These laws are universal. I believe that this is part of what God leverages to create. And I believe that one of the reasons why we are here is not just to sit in the squall of our pain. We're here to create. And some of us have been wasting an awful lot of time not creating what we want. I spent enough time not creating what I wanted. I was 18 years old at a time in my life where I was preparing to go serve a 2-year Christian mission, and I was not right, and I was not ready for that experience. But as the time was approaching, my family decided that they wanted to go on one last vacation with Chris. My 3 older brothers had left the home. I was now the oldest. I had 5 younger siblings, and we were going to go vacation where we vacation always, Cannon Beach, Oregon. Anyone here know Cannon Beach? If you have not been, cute little sleeper town, preserved, beautiful weekend getaway. And we go out to Cannon Beach, and my sister and I decided to do the thing that we always did growing up. We would go wave jumping. You guys know what wave jumping is? It's not a very technical something. It's just where you go out and bob up and down and jump with the waves. But something I got to tell you about the Pacific and the Cannon Beach is that the slope of the ocean is ever so gradual that you almost have to walk like 1/10 of a mile before you even get up to your knees in that water. So you have to go out a really far way. And so we're right there next to Haystack Rock, going out super far into the water, my sister and I. And, you know, we were older. I was the oldest left at home, 18 years old. I thought I could handle myself. And so we were pushing the limits on a blustery day of how far we could go. My sister loves to push it a little bit. And so she was allowing herself to go further and further and further. And these waves at that time, they were rolling what felt like 9, 10 feet up and down. And I remember she was getting so far out that when the wave came down, I couldn't touch the ground. And I got worried. There was this panic that set in, so I backed up. And I got to the point where I could touch the ground, but when I could, I noticed a riptide. There was this powerful swell underneath the water. And so I backed up even further. And my sister was so far out, I knew that she was caught in this current. And I was trying to coax her in, and she was crying, saying, I'm trying, unable. So I didn't know what to do, but my parents were on the beach, so I turned myself around, and I ride the wave as high as I can, and I start waving my hands. And my dad, from that far away, he looked like a tiny little speck, and I could see his hands waving, and I could see him running to town. He knew something was wrong. I turned myself back around, but my sister was so far gone, and not being a strong swimmer, that I became very afraid. And I had a very small amount of swimming training. I was a BSA lifeguard with the Boy Scouts. And my training said, do not jump in a dangerous situation like this. But there was this moment where I said, if I don't try to do something, I'm going to see my sister drown. And so it was a moment for a decision. And I think I felt a moment of heroicism. I thought, I'm going to go and save my sister. So I jumped in after her. And I remember how strong those first strokes were as I made it all the way out to my sister. And then she's a really tall girl like I'm a tall guy. And I put my arm around her in the proper carry, thinking, I remember doing this with little 12-year-old scouts, this swimmer's carry. My sister being so big, she was struggling to keep herself above the water. And my body was underneath hers trying to keep hers above. And it became very apparent that we were not really able. I was not going to be able to swim my sister in, and yet that riptide was pulling us further and further out. And my sister became so tired that she had a hard time keeping her head above the water. And if I let my sister go, I would watch her die, and maybe I could swim back. And I felt caught. It's like, I can't leave my sister. And so my sister and I really did the only thing that we knew how to do. It was the first real miracle in my life. We started calling out prayers, trying so hard to get our voices heard above the loud crash of the ocean. And then something truly miraculous happened. A single wave came and carried us all the way till we could stand at our waist. My sister was so tired, I put my arm around her and I helped walk her out of the ocean. We were both so exhausted by the time we got out. My mom was crying, and my mom thought I had saved my sister's life, which was so funny because I had done no such thing. My life had been spared. I wanted to share that with you because that is an anchor in my life that reminds me of this one fact. I've got today. We have two beautiful people that are serving on the Limitless staff this weekend whose mother had an aneurysm, and they lost their mother today. We don't know how much time we got. But with the time we do have, don't you think we owe it to ourselves to give it our best? I share these laws with you because they've changed my life, and I share them because I know that there's things in life that we want, but above all, fulfillment that comes from living our purpose and experiencing and living inside of our potential. And my hope and my prayer for every one of us here is that you will be inspired, that you'll take these notes, and that you will make changes, that you will evaluate where you can change and where you can grow, where you can have more faith, where you can have more unconditional love, where you can align your life, where it makes sense to learn about belief breakthrough and letting go of the false worship and the ideas that aren't serving, to step into a world where you get to experience you in your greatness. Because that's an obituary you want to have read. That's a life. That's a life without risk because you did that thing that you were here to do. My hope for every one of us is that we walk away, myself included, from this experience knowing one next way that we can live more boldly, doing that thing that we feel called to do, powered by a greater source and powered by love. Because if we will, I can already tell you, that this is how the world changes. This is how we see the change in the world that we want. Us being empowered to love and let go of ego and selfish and to serve more people and to produce those amazing feelings of fulfillment that come, I believe, from creating what we were sent here to create. And I believe in you. My team believes in you because we're connected. I'm limitless when I'm living my purpose and stepping as best I can into my potential, and so are you. There's an army of people stepping into their greatness, stepping into their purpose and our reasons for why we're here. When we live that, I don't know what else really matters because we lived our life right. Please, use this information that you've been given. And if there's a next step for you to play more aggressively and it resonates with you, find a way. Even if that means believing in it without knowing how it's going to happen. But take your next appropriate step that resonates with you so that you can get the training and the mentorship that you need to take your life to the level that is at your privilege and where all of us can be playing. Thank you.